this is what shaped the Philippines as we know it today. In fact, this flag with only 3 letters is so important in the country's history that its presence can be seen everywhere to glorify its honor. And I know, you might be thinking of something else. No, this is not the Ku Klux Klan. This is the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. The Katipunan existed to unite the Philippine Islands into one single nation. This group played a crucial role in ending the Spanish colonial era of 333 years and served as a catalyst for identity and nationalism. This is how the Katipunan gave birth to a nation. First, let's clear up something about the KKK that exists in the West. The Ku Klux Klan is not related to the Katipunan. The Ku Klux Klan was founded in the US as a white supremacist group in 1865 after the American Civil War, while the Katipunan was a secret society founded in 1892 with the goal of ending Spanish colonialism in the Philippines and establishing a united Philippine government. During the Spanish era, the Philippines experienced the exploitation of its resources, as well as the discrimination between Filipinos. However, Spanish colonization also brought benefits to the Philippines, such as new infrastructure, education, and government. While many Filipinos became accustomed to the presence of Spanish influences, there were those who favored independence. This is where the Katipunan comes into play. During the 1800s, tensions between Spanish colonization were increasing. On July 3, 1892, Jose Rizal and other members, including Andres Bonifacio, established the Liga Filipina. Its primary purpose was to provide aid, promote unity and cooperation among Filipinos, and advocate for political reforms with the Spanish government. Jose Rizal is widely believed to be the greatest catalyst for Philippine nationalism due to his significant efforts in creating peaceful reforms. However, Spanish authorities viewed the existence of the Liga Filipina as a threat and arrested Rizal on July 6, 1892, just 3 days after its establishment. The next day, July 7, 1892, in this very house, former members Deodato Arellano, Ladislao Diwa, Teodoro Plata, Andres Bonifacio, Jose Dizon, and Valentin Diaz organized the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, known as the Katipunan for short, or the KKK. This translates to Supreme and Honorable Society of the Children of the Nation. The word Katipunan itself comes from the Tagalog term tipon, meaning gathering or to gather. Unlike Jose Rizal's peaceful goals with the Liga Filipina, the Katipunan had 4 main objectives: forging a brotherhood among its members, uniting Filipinos as a unified nation, achieving Philippine independence through armed conflict or revolution, and establishing a republic once independence was secured. Initially, the Katipunan was strictly kept secret to avoid being purged by the Spaniards. Before 1896, its focus was on gaining support, and its existence spread secretly through the surrounding provinces of Manila, with the number of members increasing over the years. By 1895, Andres Bonifacio assumed the position of Supremo, or President of the Katipunan. It was at this time that the Katipunan intensified its preparations for an armed revolution. The Katipunan utilized newspapers as a means to secretly gain support. Prominent members within the Katipunan, such as Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, and Dr. Pio Valenzuela, aimed to spread the society's revolutionary thoughts and ideals through their works. In 1896, while Rizal was still in exile in Dapitan, Andres Bonifacio and his counselors decided to seek the advice of Jose Rizal regarding an armed revolution. Dr. Valenzuela visited Rizal, but Rizal greatly rejected the idea of a revolution, believing that the Filipino people were simply not ready yet for such a war and that they needed to collect arms and funds first. That was also the last time the Katipunan would ever have contact with Rizal, as he was executed on December 30, 1896. But despite Rizal's rejection, the Katipunan continued its efforts to address the arms supply problem and smuggle weapons from Japan, who was then friendly towards the Philippines. Andres Bonifacio attempted to purchase weapons from Japan, but did not have enough funds. Unfortunately, a simple wage dispute between 2 Katipuneros working at a Spanish-owned printing press named Diario de Manila, Apolonio de la Cruz and Teodoro Patino, led to Patino seeking revenge by revealing the secrets of the Katipunan to his sister Honoria. Honoria was deeply upset by the revelation and reported this to her superiors, which pressured Patino to confess everything to a friar. Patiño betrayed the Katipunan, disclosed what he knew about it, prompting the authorities to investigate the printing press, where they found the Katipunan's documents. The discovery of the Katipunan would be Andres Bonifacio's signal to start fighting. In a symbolic act of rebellion, Bonifacio and members of the Katipunan began tearing their cedulas as a visible act of rebellion, which is now known as the Cry of Pugadlawin. During that time, the cedula was a document that every Filipino was required to carry as proof of their identity and payment of taxes to the Spanish authorities. Like the breaking of the chains of oppression, tearing the cedula was like the assertion of national identity. On August 30, the Katipunan initiated an attack on the Spanish soldiers guarding the powder magazine, known as the Battle of San Juan del Monte, or Battle of Pinaglabanan. During this battle, the Katipuneros aimed to cripple Spanish resources in Manila and gather weapons. Despite their courage and determination, the Katipuneros only fought with basic weapons such as the bolo and bamboo spears against the rifles of some Spanish soldiers and Spanish conscripted Filipino guards. Even if Andres Bonifacio got the upper hand, he suffered hundreds of casualties, and eventually a large number of Spanish reinforcements consisting of Filipino conscripts pushed them further back, forcing their retreat. The Katipunan failed its objective and lost its very first battle. But news of the battle reached other provinces in Manila, where other insurgent groups were organized and started attacking the Spaniards. Other battles were organized in the surrounding provinces in the following months, but the Katipunan, being ill-equipped, composing of undertrained ordinary people and disorganized command, endured a series of losses with a handful of victories. In response to the events of the Philippine Revolution, Spanish authorities executed prisoners and captured prominent members of the Katipunan. Spanish reinforcements also arrived to attempt to restore order in the colony. The towns and cities that supported the Katipunan were given symbolic names to reflect their allegiance. During the course of the revolution, a division arose between two factions in Cavite: the Magdiwang, led by General Mariano Alvarez, which closely supported Andres Bonifacio, and the Magdalo, led by General Baldomero Aguinaldo. On March 22, 1897, just a year after the Katipunan's first battle, in a convention held in Cavite, the revolutionaries gathered to establish a unified revolutionary government to address this division. Now, this new government needs to elect new leaders. But the more popular member of the elite, Emilio Aguinaldo, was elected as the president of the revolutionary government, defeating Andres Bonifacio, one of the founders of the Katipunan himself, who instead became the Secretary of Interior, the lowest of the leaders. During this election at Tejeros, which is widely believed to be manipulated by Aguinaldo's faction in their own favor, Andres Bonifacio still adhered to the rules of the election and was about to accept his defeat and his new position as the lowest of the newly elected leaders, but was disputed by a man named Daniel Tirona, stating that Andres Bonifacio is uneducated and that the position of Director of Interior, even at the lowest position, should require a law degree. This angered Bonifacio and almost threatened to shoot Tirona, but Tirona fled the room. Bonifacio then declared the results of the convention null and void, asserting his authority as the Supremo of the Katipunan. Despite Bonifacio's objections, Aguinaldo and the other officers took their oath of office the following day in Santa Cruz de Malabon, excluding Bonifacio. Bonifacio and a few others issued the Acta de Tejeros, which denounces the events at the Tejeros Convention as disorderly and marred by deception. They also signed the Naik Military Agreement, branding the actions at Tejeros as treasonous. However, by that time, and as a result of the election, Andres Bonifacio is no longer in charge, and instead, President Aguinaldo and his officers. As a result, Andres Bonifacio and his brother Procopio were the ones arrested instead for treason, and with General Aguinaldo's approval, they were executed on May 10, 1897. At Mount Buntis in Maragondon, Cavite, the Bonifacio brothers were buried in an unmarked grave, and their bodies are still undiscovered today. The Katipunan was dissolved and merged into Aguinaldo's revolutionary government, which is largely considered as the first Philippine Republic. While the Katipunan was short-lived, it sowed the seeds for nationalism and represented the aspirations and determination of the Filipino people to achieve independence and self-governance. It promoted pride in Filipino heritage, emphasizing the Philippines as a distinct nation. Over time, the KKK's ideals and actions became intertwined with the broader narrative of Philippine nationhood. The courage, determination, and sacrifices of the Katipuneros inspired future generations of Filipino revolutionaries, shaping the identity of the Philippine nation. Today, the KKK serves as a historical symbol of the Philippine struggle for independence and its people's unwavering spirit in the pursuit of freedom and self-determination.